Good afternoon. I'd like to start by thanking our amazing board, Dr. Webb, Ms. Harney, Ms. Wortman, for all of your continued support for our students, our staff, our Ryland Heights community. I'm sure you'll hear it mentioned a bunch, but all of the resources, the facilities, the professional development provided to our teachers, the increased compensation for our teachers is very much appreciated, make it a great place to work in this district. So like Dr. Webb was referencing, I'll start off with reflecting on some of our KSA summative assessment data. We were in the green category last year. And even though we were the second highest overall score in the district, to be perfectly honest, green is not acceptable to us. We have a higher standard, higher expectation than that to be at the very highest blue category. That being said, we did have a lot of academic achievement to celebrate with our students from this assessment last year. Our students were 19% above the state average in reading. They were 22% above the state average in math, 24% above the state average in science, and 23% above in social studies. We also saw a 13% increase in social studies, so we're super proud of that effort. And then we were 13% above the state average in combined writing, even though that combined writing score took a dip, and quite honestly, that change score within our separate academic indicators is what did hurt our overall score. But it gave us the opportunity to look and see where we needed to improve, what changes we needed to make. We were able to identify those and put those into action for this year to get those writing scores back up high where we expect them to be, and we're used to having them. So while our goal is to have all students make growth, of course, we do have some added emphasis this school year with our students with disabilities, more specifically in the areas of reading and math. In the KSA, for the content area of reading, 28% of our students with disabilities were proficient, and that was a 38% gap from our all-student score, and that's not good enough. So we need to make improvements in that area. Also, 30% of our students with disabilities were proficient in the area of math, and even though that was an 8% increase from the previous year, it's still 34% gap from all students. Again, that's not acceptable. We need to make improvements in those areas. So some of the strategies that we're putting into place to bring those scores up, to have those students be achieving at a higher level, is not just instituting and implementing effective co-teaching strategies, but something that we increased this year is common planning between the collaborative teachers and the general education teachers. Because as Ms. Harney referenced, you know, they need time to work together to do that lesson internalization and make sure that they are meeting and teaching to the standards effectively while also implementing those effective co-teaching strategies. We also need to ensure that within the resource settings that those teachers are using effective instructional strategies while also tying those in with our high-quality instructional resources, because that's something that can give that boost, that consistency, and using those resources as effective as they should be. So in addition to our KSA scores, there's a lot of other metrics and data that makes us proud of our students and their academic achievement. With our common assessments. So last year in our common assessments, with our math common assessments, we were one of the highest in the district for elementary schools. Something that we also found through looking through the data that is very helpful is that our common assessment scores correlate very closely with our state assessment scores. So again, big thank you to providing the Performance Matters within the Schoology platform, time. It's great to be a principal in this district where we have the common assessments, to where we're able to give those and see how our students are progressing and be able to make instructional changes as quickly as we possibly can based on that. So far this year, our district common assessment average for our students in ELA is 84% proficient, and in math, 87% proficient for our schools. So that's awesome, and that's something that we celebrate on a weekly basis. Within our action plan, our goal is 85% of students reaching proficiency, and that's through common assessments, through our common formative assessments. So we've been celebrating a lot of students, classrooms, and grade levels so far this year for their achievement. Additionally, our MAP projected proficiency for grades 2 through 5 is an increase from last fall, so we're proud of our students for that as well. But something that we're most excited about this year at Ryland is that when reflecting on everything last year and trying to determine how do we take that next step to become world class, and we determined that there was no reason for us to not adopt a school-specific community-based accountability system. So that's what we've done this year. Our teachers have been absolutely amazing. They're serving on committees. We have separate pillars, and we have developed key questions. We recently completed our first round of signaling, and to say it was powerful is an understatement. It's absolutely awesome to see that them having more of a voice and input, as well as coming up with different strategies to where, and identifying how can we improve, not just in academics, but also with the community, with transition readiness, with involvement for students. And them coming up, the different teachers and committees coming up with surveys to reach out to parents. So really excited to see where that takes us. Along the lines with that, as it's one of our district goals, we have an added emphasis all the time on transition readiness. Our goal is 100%. So we have created transition ready data dashboards, created benchmarks, not just with our 4th and 5th grade, but starting with kindergarten, and to where we can identify students that are making transition readiness benchmarks, and also students that need a little bit more assistance. We're naming and claiming different students and seeing where that support is needed. We make sure that every single student has at least one adult advocate within the building to help guide them through this process. Something else that we've instituted this year is adding clubs to our school that we have periodically. The kids are loving it, and it's given more of an opportunity for students to be involved in a meaningful activity outside the classroom. For instance, we've seen an increase of 35% of our primary students being involved outside of the classroom. So that's been great to see as well. Overall, I'm just super proud to lead such a team of professionals that we have at Ryland Heights Elementary. They show up every day with a growth mindset, and they do whatever it takes for whatever the kids need. So thank you for your time.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today about the amazing things that are going on at Taylor Mill. I also appreciate the support of the Board of Education, Dr. Webb, Mrs. Harney, and Mrs. Wortman for their support on our journey. This year, we started out Olympic crazed. We started out with an Olympic theme, Dream Chasing Day, to really motivate us to get ready for this school year. And we took a twist on the Olympic motto for our goal. So our goal for the year was faster, higher, stronger, together. This day of collaborative reflections, stories of Olympians, and goal setting really inspired us and allowed us to determine what was going well and then what areas we needed growth in order to meet our goals. So we committed to 4 big goals based on the Olympic motto, getting faster at having all grade levels implement student-led conferences, and at fast-tracking our students and building their vocabulary. Our second goal was pushing ourselves into higher levels on the systems and processes that we use for road mapping. We committed 3 to building stronger lesson plans, and 4 working together to dream big for our students. Our revised Olympic motto carries us on throughout our school year as we celebrated our highest state assessment scores yet. So our 2 big successes we saw last year are overall blue rating on the Kentucky State Assessment, with a blue rating in reading and math, and then a blue rating in science, social studies, and writing, and a green rating in the quality of school climate and safety indicator. We increased 11% in writing and achieved a state ranking in combined writing for all students as 25th in the state out of 541 schools, so we really celebrated that. When recapping last year, it was exciting to see a 10% growth in science, although we have room to improve. We were above the state average, but below the district average. For our students with disabilities, we saw an 8% increase in proficient and distinguished in reading, but again, we've got lots of room to grow. With our momentum and to continue this, we've had conversations about explicit instruction and vocabulary, about writing and the content areas. We have special education data digs that we've revised this year to help us better triangulate our student data and to track their progress on their IEP goals. And then we refined our school-wide data dashboard and our transition readiness boards for 3rd through 5th grade this year. We celebrate that 83% of our students taking Access for EL showed growth in their scaled scores from the previous year, and we had 11% of students meet the criteria to exit this program. We really attribute that to the Orton-Gillingham strategies that 40 of our teachers are trained on. When looking at our quality school climate and safety data, we celebrate that 98% of our students felt that adults from my school work hard to make sure students are safe. And 99% of students felt that my teachers expect me to do my best all the time. We saw strengths in our areas of safety and see areas of growth regarding student behavior. We're working on our combined SEL and PBIS task groups to strengthen our school-wide procedures, and we'll continue our blue and gold tickets, our PTA awards, our tokens to the book vending machine to really recognize students meeting those PBIS expectations. We will continue our teacher-led weekly lessons to support our social emotional learning for everyone, and then the use of restorative practices and assignments to help with addressing any of those student behaviors. Our action plan instructional priorities and strategies are focused on achieving 75% of all students and 65% of students with disabilities, meeting the proficient or distinguished goal on the reading common assessments from the district. One strategy that we started was our common formative assessments leading up to these the big district assessments. So our teachers have been revising and rewriting our knowledge unit common formatives and our skills unit common formatives. And we're analyzing these and using a new dashboard and really seeing a lot of growth through that process. Another strategy is that we're using the unit and lesson internalization documents and PLCs to assist for planning and preparation for our students. Through this process, we are looking at the different levels of vocabulary. We're using the routines for explicit instruction in vocabulary and all content areas. We're also looking at those P to 12 reading strategies for pre-reading and during reading and after reading to really help support our students' understanding of the text. Last year, our triangulated data for reading was fairly accurate, all within a 7% range. Our school common assessment running average was a 73. Our projected MAP proficiency was 72, and then our KSA results were 66%. So over the past 3 years on our state assessment, our scores have been trending up. We continue to use this data as well as our new diagnostic data from the MAP reading fluency to kind of monitor our student proficiency. Our MTSS process, we've worked really hard on determining our skill deficits with our students and then matching theirs to those interventions that they need. Our second action plan instructional priority is that all students will show growth on math through Tier 1 instruction, and our academic goal is for them to achieve 80% of all students and 65% of our students with disabilities. Our strategies include refining and creating our common formative assessments per unit based on standard clusters and essential skills, and this is new for us. Each grade level determined a strategy for spiral review because the current program doesn't use a spiral review. So we feel like it's important to ensure that exposure and reteaching and practicing skills that they did not master the first time around. We monitor that through our lesson plans, through instructional walks, and we share those trends that we're seeing in classrooms with our teachers. We are continuing to refine our math MTSS. We use a diagnostic from IXL to help us identify the cluster area that students are struggling with. Last year, our triangulated data for math was also really accurate, within a 4% range. So our school math common assessment running average for the year was 61%. Our MAP projected proficiency was 65%, and then our KSA results had a 62% of students scoring proficient and distinguished. Over our past 3 years, our math data on KSA has been trending up. We continue to use this data to monitor student proficiency as well as the IXL math diagnostic, but it does show a little bit higher. It had that our students were at 74% on or above grade level, so it was just a little higher than our other triangulated data. Last year, 82% of our 4th and 5th graders met the literacy and numeracy goal for transition readiness, which was above the district average. This fall, we've already held our first transition ready conferences with our 4th and 5th graders. They're adult advocates, and we really found this to be helpful in ensuring our students understand what they need in order to meet those goals. Both grade levels then took that information the very next week and presented it to their parents at our first ever school-wide student-led conferences. It was exciting to see student ownership of their learning and pride and their accomplishments at all grade levels, not just in our upper grades. Our kindergartners did amazing, and our feedback from parents was very positive. We have work to do. We're committed to growth and achievement for all students through building and refining our systems, our processes, and our structures. We want to be faster, higher, stronger together for all of our students. Thank you for allowing me to have this opportunity to share the great things about Taylor Mill.
I would like to first thank the Board of Education for your tremendous support of the students and staff here in Kenton County. Nothing that we can accomplish is done without your support. I would also like to thank Dr. Webb, Mrs. Harney, Mrs. Wortman, and the entire KCSD Central Office staff for their continued support of not just Hinsdale, but of all Kenton County schools. Ms. Harney referenced that there's so many people behind the scenes that make us who we are, and it would not be possible without them. There's a saying that says the days go fast, but the years go slow. It's amazing to think about the fact that this is my 4th year serving as the principal at Hinsdale, and I'm extremely honored to be here today. As each of our colleagues can attest to, it's a responsibility that none of us take lightly, and I'm excited to share not only the great things that are taking place in our building, but also the areas of growth that we have identified. We ask our students to grow each day, and we as the educational professionals want to be that model of a lifelong learner. In terms of successes, I am proud to share that we have enjoyed many over the last year at Hinsdale. Hinsdale ranked in the top 2 in KCSD with 66% of all students scoring proficient or distinguished in reading on last year's KSA. Along the same lines in math, we ranked in the top 2 with 67% of all students scoring proficient or distinguished in math on last year's KSA. In regards to other content areas, Hinsdale scored in the top 3 in KCSD in science, social studies, and combined writing. But what I'm proud about also about our building, and maybe most proud of, is that we do not just find success in the classroom. One of the most important things, if not the most important thing in education, is how students and staff feel about their school experience. We all know students and staff cannot reach their maximum potential if they do not feel valued or safe within their school. We have worked extremely hard over the last 3+ years as a team to make this vision a reality, and we are seeing those results firsthand. On last year's KSA, Hinsdale achieved an indicator score of 87 on the school climate survey. This ranked not only #1 in the district, but #1 in Northern Kentucky, in the Northern Kentucky region. This is the byproduct of a school community that advocates for all students and a community and staff who believe in what we stand for each day. But our students are not only not only day-to-day stakeholders. Our staff want to come to work also. We talk about the importance of staff feeling valued and being able to provide the best experience for their students. Every 2 years, teachers participate in the Impact Survey, which highlights working conditions in schools around the state of Kentucky. Close to 40,000 educators around the state participated in this survey last year. 100% of staff believe that trust exists between the school leaders and the faculty. 94% believe that our school will improve in the future. When everyone is moving along the same ideas, the same belief systems, the same values, you can move mountains within your school. And 100% of teachers believe that there's a positive tone set each day in our building. That translates down to our students. When that happens, education within the classroom can soar. But while we celebrate successes such as these, we have to recognize the importance of remaining forward-facing, as Ms. Harney talked about in the beginning of today's talk. An area we immediately recognize, as my colleagues have mentioned, is how we can better serve our students with disabilities. We saw a 14% drop in the number of students with disabilities scoring proficient and distinguished on KSA math. We also saw a 6% drop in the number of students with disabilities scoring proficient and distinguished on KSA reading. Recognizing the deficit is step one, but more importantly is the next step in creating strategies to address this area. One of the things that Mrs. Harney talked about to us a lot is data without data and context is meaningless. So we have to be able to take that data and how we're going to move forward in action. Step one of that is providing common planning time and grade level collaboration time with our special education department and related to assessment analysis in both reading and math. In assessment analysis, we use this data to recognize specific students and where those students are failing or showing deficits in standards, and making plans within those standards of how we will recursively teach standards that are not being reached in the classroom, and then supporting this further in the resource setting with that resource teacher. Also, we are using our grade level data dashboards as it relates to special education. We're tracking students towards their IEP progress goals, tracking proficiency of common assessments, and also common formative assessments. But digging into that data is not just special education when we look at where we are across borders for all students. The key to long-term success and the ability to name and claim all students and realize where they are as learners. Every student is on his or her own unique learning journey, and we want to be able to drill down for every student where they are academically during that core instruction. Grade level teams, as I mentioned earlier, conduct assessment analysis for all students after assessments. They use this data to identify what specific standards need to be addressed and then create their needs-based groups in our RTI blocks to address those standards. This could be in the form of specific concepts within the standard or extension activities for students achieving above grade level to ensure they too are being pushed on their maximum potential. But individual student learning does not just happen with those students, but also our staff. Every single month, our teachers receive walks at our building. They're observed and provided critical feedback for their instruction in the classroom. We talk a lot about as a district that Tier 1 instruction is the key. And if we're not providing our teachers with support and coaching, we won't be able to move students along the way they should be. We gather trend data for individual teachers and trend data for staff overall for where we can help to grow them as professionals. Furthermore, each week we gather with grade level teams and our PLCs and look at data for assessment analysis, where they are in their needs for support. Grade level teams each week after assessments provide strategies and ways they're going to address and ways they will close those gaps. They present this to us as admin teams. PLCs allow time for teachers to share any thoughts or concerns on the needs of students, needs that they may have as well. Lastly, each grade level team has their own data dashboard. In this data dashboard, they are able to access pieces of student data wherever necessary at the touch of a button because of the abilities that you support us. This includes KSA results, common assessments, MAP scores. In the case of our 5th grade students, transition readiness data allows us to track their GPA, attendance, extracurriculars they are involved in, and their adult advocates. Those trusted adults in the building who have they determined as their go-to person each day. In closing, I cannot tell you how honored I am to serve the staff and students at Hinsdale each day. We are proud of the successes we have accomplished, but always aware of what lies ahead and how we can continue to grow Hinsdale and be a school that you can be proud of as a part of the Kenton County School District. Thank you.
Thank you to the Board of Education and Dr. Webb, our entire central office staff for all the support that you provide Fort Wright Elementary. Being a leader in this school district is truly a privilege that I am honored to have. After reflection and analysis of last year's Kentucky Summative Assessment results, as well as other triangulated data, our focus at Fort Wright remains the same. We're going to focus on kids being at school daily, students being transition ready, and making sure that they are receiving a world-class education. Last year, Fort Wright remained focused on maintaining a positive school culture and growth mindset to ensure that all of our students continue to grow. This mindset, as well as clear expectations, accountability to systems and structures in place, followed by consistency, makes Fort Wright a high-achieving school, earning a green overall performance ranking. With that said, we have many points of pride to celebrate from last school year that I would like to share. Fort Wright was in the top 20% in the state for our overall school scores. Fort Wright was in the top 5% of Kentucky schools for our students in science. We were in the top 6 to 10% for our students for proficient distinguished in math. We were in the top 11 to 15% for reading, social studies for all students, and then for our students, our free and reduced lunch students in math. We had the highest proficiency scores in reading, math, and science for all of our students. 94% of our EL students made growth on access testing. And 97% of our students believe Fort Wright is a safe place, and the adults in our building are giving our kids everything they need to be successful learners, which was a super proud point for us. We are super proud and excited about our successes, but know that it is imperative to continue to grow in order to increase our achievement. With that said, Fort Wright continues to implement 4 big strategies to improve fidelity and maintain consistency of our multi-tiered system of support for all staff and students in leadership, data-driven decision-making, targeted instruction, and data to support student success. Our first strategy is that we complete learning walks. Monthly Learning Walk data, District Amplify Walk data, and Special Education Learning Walk data is used to empower and grow our teachers, differentiate professional learning needs, and give high-quality feedback to improve and strengthen our Tier 1 instruction, as well as strengthening instruction for our interventionists and our special education teachers. Our second strategy is our professional learning. As a leader, I am committed to providing meaningful and purposeful professional development opportunities that will transfer into actionable classroom strategies to increase our achievement. This happens through differentiated CSIP strategy sessions, job-embedded professional learning focused on deepening our teachers' understanding of the Kentucky academic standards, best practices for understanding, ensuring tasks are aligned to the intended depth of the standard, analyzing tasks and assessments to ensure varying levels of complexity, planning intentional spiral reviews, scoring calibration, and continued professional learning to support the ongoing implementation process of CKLA to increase teacher ownership to best meet our student needs. I am proud to share that Fort Wright has 22 staff, including special education teachers, my interventionists, and myself, who have either completed or are currently enrolled in the LETTERS program, which will eventually just continue to deepen our understanding of the science of reading to improve our overall literacy instruction. For the second year, we are continuing to offer in-house professional development to our IAs. Survey feedback was utilized to target those sessions and provide meaningful learning to them so we can increase their capacity to better support our students. Fort Wright has had a great success with our lab classrooms, and we will continue to implement them this year. This in-house professional development allows teachers to engage in high levels of discourse around best practices, allows teachers to access ideas and instructional strategies. It inspires us to improve our instructional practices, which ultimately will lead to our teacher effectiveness. Another example is our weekly memo that includes follow-up strategies for best practices. It's inclusive of our school action plan goals and data and classroom learning walk, including scripted evidence of an exemplar lesson to highlight the elements of the quality instruction cycle, as well as other strategy ideas to build for teachers to utilize in their daily instruction. Our PLCs remain a big focus at Fort Wright. We are focused on tracking, monitoring, and celebrating transition-ready students. All teachers administer weekly formative assessments and common assessments and performance matters, which provides quick access to data analysis. Our teachers engage in reflective, collaborative discussions to determine needed adjustments to instruction where teachers inquire, share, and model instruction strategies or best practices to build capacity within our grade level teams. And finally, our MTSS procedures. Our MTSS team and teachers ensure intervention goals match our skill deficits and engage in weekly MTSS meetings. Interventionists and teachers track student progress and performance matters, which is utilized for our Tier 2 and Tier 3 progress checks to identify the level of student progress and determine next steps. Following progress checks, interventionists and administration utilize student progress data to analyze and determine the effectiveness of our interventions and allow us to make adjustments. In closing, we do have a lot to celebrate at Fort Wright, but we also know that we have a lot to focus on this year. One thing I know and love about Fort Wright is there is a very special, unique culture and climate that exists among our staff. One that has unified our commitment and belief systems to doing whatever it takes for our Falcons. I am confident that you will see great things at Fort Wright this year.
Well, thank you. I want to reiterate what everyone said. Thank you so much for your support. But I want to take the opportunity to thank all of you for the opportunity to share the strategies and actions that River Ridge is putting in place this year to increase our overall proficiency of every student so they're transition ready. As Dr. Webb says, we are more than our yellow area of growth last year. We are more than that. And so we want to share all of those things. First, I want to share some of our great achievements. Our overall student proficiency in math has continued to increase over the last few years. Last year we met 61% students were proficient and distinguished. With over 170 EL students in our school, which does make up 19% of our school population, we're proud to say that 85% of them made progress last year, and we exited 16% of those students, which was an increase from our year before. Our students with disabilities proficiency scores did grow last year in math, reading, and science. This gap group, which is 214 students last year, which made up 24% of our student population, did meet our CSIP goal from last year in the area of reading, and we were very close in the area of math. We also are excited to announce that our students with disabilities proficiency scores in science were first in Kenton County. And we are so close to closing the achievement gap of more than our 50% of students in the free and reduced lunch that we are excited to say we are so close. We are ready to make that goal. So while we've made improvements, obviously it's very apparent, as we did not get a banner this year, that we have a lot of work to do to increase our proficiency for goals and objectives. It would take me a lot longer than 8 minutes to tell you all the amazing things that are going on at River Ridge to meet that goal. So I thought I would share just a few that I think are having the most impact on our students' achievement. So this summer, after a review of our data, we provided professional development, or we looked at our professional development plan, and we really planned with intentionality to hold our teachers, staff, and students accountable to the proficiency of all students in our building, preschool through 5th grade. Teachers quickly learned as they came back to school this year that we were modeling what we expected in the 24-25 school year: intentionality and accountability. Some of them have told me they hear that in their sleep, but that's okay. I would put River Ridge teachers up against all other elementary teachers in their compassion, their willingness to work hard, building relationships with students, perseverance, and the approach to teaching the whole child. But as the saying goes, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results, well, I'll leave the rest for you to finish. So this year it is time for us at River Ridge to dig into the land of discomfort and hold ourselves and each other accountable to every student's proficiency. How are we doing that? Through intentionality. So we are continuing to focus on Tier 1 instruction to ensure that all students have equitable access to high quality instruction. We're excited to be in the second year of our CKLA ELA resource, and we are using that to intentionally plan for rigorous instruction that meets the standards. In our second year of this implementation, we have made vast improvements in following the program to fidelity while continuing to differentiate for our individual students' needs in each classroom. However, what we know is that resources alone cannot improve our students' achievement, and it cannot have the effect we need. So this year we've chosen to invest in our teachers. Growing our teachers provides students access to high quality teaching at every grade level and every content area. We started the year by providing clarity around our expectations for planning in all content areas through the use of a unit planning guide and a weekly lesson unit planning guide. These guides follow the backward design of model of intentional planning, starting with the standards and the end of the unit unit assessment, or our common assessment, which in turn guides the lesson plans for the week. Teachers have said that this new process has helped them see the big picture and be intentional about planning because they can see the progression from beginning to end. We are also providing teachers time, which if you're not aware is a hot commodity in schools, to intentionally plan using the unit planning guide, which does align to the Kenton County internalization planning guide, prior to them planning daily and weekly lessons. All members of our administrative team are attending these planning sessions to be able to learn and grow with our teachers. It has been a great experience to learn where each of our teachers are in the planning process and to dig into the curriculum for CKLA and our math program, Bridges. It also helps us to understand the big picture of the lessons that we're able to observe during our instructional walks that we do. We've created a document that helps us track student data by grade and by teacher to be able to identify where our growth areas are and compare it to our instructional walk data. We are meeting with teachers to provide coaching and feedback to help them grow throughout the year. Accountability. In the last few years, our behavior referral data has increased, resulting in disruptions to learning. In order to find the root cause of these disruptions, we started to track the calls made to the office to remove a student or assist them when they are causing a disruption to their learning or that of others. Over the last few years, this data has shown a drastic increase in the number of disruptions and the number of students who are struggling to manage their emotions. What we know is that if students are not able to manage their emotions to stay in class and not disrupt others, then they can't access the high quality instructional teaching that we're working so hard to provide. Therefore, our second focus is on training and growing our teachers to be more equipped to manage student behaviors in the classroom to eliminate disruptions to the learning environment. One of the best professional development sessions I've ever attended was the poverty simulator that we hosted this year at River Ridge. All of our staff and a few others from other buildings participated in this simulator, in which we were assigned roles of a family member living in poverty. They had 3 30-minute sessions to get everything done they needed to meet their family's needs. What started out as fun quickly escalated to serious competition and frustration at facing barriers at every corner they turned. Our staff learned what it was like to face the barriers of our students and parents in poverty, which is over 50%, and what they experience on a daily basis. Engaging in this simulator has given all of us a different perspective when working with families who experience poverty. We had great conversations in the debriefing session about how we can continue to show empathy, but also hold students and families accountable to education. In order to continue the work from a PD session we also did on behavior management strategies at the beginning of the year, the principals, teachers, and our counselors hold grade level SEB meetings each month to analyze behavior data, discuss the root causes of the behaviors, as well as share strategies to use for identified students. Students are being provided a specific place, which we call the reset room, to calm down when removed from the classroom. There they engage in restorative practices and assignments in order to return to class with strategies to use next time. This structure is used no matter who removes them from the classroom or from wherever they are, providing a consistent structure each time they visit. We're happy to report that many students who found time last year that they spent out of class as a great way to avoid work are no longer interested in coming to the reset room because of the structure. So as you can see, we are hard at work helping to connect the students and grow them in all areas to ensure they can succeed at their highest potential. We are confident the intentionality and will keep us all accountable to all of our students. And we just appreciate your continued support and trust as we continue to grow our Timberwolf students and staff.
Good afternoon. I will echo what everyone else has said. Thank you to the Board of Education, Dr. Webb, all the central office staff, and also to my colleagues who I continue to borrow ideas from and be inspired by. It is truly an honor to be here as I serve my first year as the principal of Beech Grove. While this is my first year at Beech Grove, this marks my 16th year serving in Kenton County. Through this new role, I've had the privilege of reconnecting with many of my previous middle school students and their families from Summit View and Twin Hoffel, some of whom are now parents and even colleagues, which has made this experience all the more special. At Beech Grove Elementary, we've seen some growth and progress over the past year. Our focus last year was on growing greatness, particularly by improving Tier 1 instruction in both general education and collaborative settings, which led to some positive results, and I'm going to share some of those highlights with you. We saw a remarkable improvement in our overall KSA score. We increased by 11.3, and that led from our shift from orange to yellow. We're making our way to green. And most importantly, we have removed the federal classification as a TSI score, TSI school. That was a very large celebration for us this school year. 3 out of our 4 indicator scores were green, and that included reading and math, social studies, science and writing, and our quality and climate survey. Our science proficiency increased by 13%. That is a tremendous step forward for our students. And while we know that there's still work to be done in closing gaps, proficiency for our students with disabilities in math has risen from 5 to 16%, and in science from 6 to 17%. So while those gaps remain, the progress we're seeing is encouraging. We are proud to share that 97% of our students responded favorably to the statement that adults from this school respect students' differences. That's a 5% increase and is higher than the district percentage, which reinforces our focus on building a safe and equitable learning environment while also celebrating student differences. Looking ahead, we're very excited that 55.8% of our current 5th graders are projected to score proficient in reading according to the fall MAP growth reports. That is very promising as it exceeds projections from the past several years, indicating that our students are on track for success in transition readiness. Also, according to the 2024 MAP growth reports, 50.4% of students in grades 2 to 5 are on track to score proficient in math, and 53.4% are on track to reach proficiency in reading by the end of this school year. These projections show positive trends and surpass our recent years' projections. While we've made great strides, we are also focused on areas where we know we need to improve, and those goals are set forth in our school action plan, and are aligned all with focusing and improving our targeted instruction across all tiers. We will continue refining and strengthening our instruction across tiers to ensure that all students have the foundational skills they need to succeed across content areas, with a special emphasis on literacy. We are working to increase student proficiency in writing, and we will continue to focus on enhancing and vertically aligning our instruction. And although we've made progress, we will continue to work on closing achievement gaps for students with disabilities and English learner student groups, ensuring that they are receiving the support they need to succeed. Additionally, our 24 impact survey from staff indicated a need for more professional learning opportunities, and you'll hear lots more about that. So the strategies to support those growth areas, lesson planning, as you've heard from several others, is one of our big rocks. To ensure effective instruction and improvement across all tiers and all contents for all students, we know that intentional preparation is key. So to support teachers in internalizing lessons and shifting from merely planning and scheduling to truly preparing lessons, we started the school year by introducing a new lesson plan structure. The new structure supports internalization by focusing not only what students are being asked to do, but why they are doing it and how they are doing it. This shift in lesson preparation is one of our big rocks, and we're pleased with progress, but we know it's going to take time to ensure that we are creating sustainable change. The next area is in literacy. In my previous role as an academic program consultant, I was a member of the district team that helped lead the shifts in literacy and support implementation of CKLA. That experience has allowed me to effectively support and lead literacy shifts in the second year of implementation of CKLA at Beech Grove. Our staff is receiving regular professional learning in both areas. We've had the opportunity to collaborate with central office and the State Department and some other agencies. We're very happy to report that we've added 10 participants to letters. That will give our school total to 18 staff members that are letters trained. And as noted earlier, writing continues to be an area in need of improvement, which we are addressing through vertically aligned writing policy, school-wide non-negotiables, monthly on-demand writing assessments, and a targeted writing instructional block in grades 4 and 5. The new Reading Universal Diagnostic, MAP Fluency, has improved our ability to identify specific deficit areas for individual students. The results better align to strands of Scarborough's reading rope and are supporting our improvement in literacy intervention. Our teachers are becoming more equipped through collaboration and professional learning led by our intervention coordinator. and professional learning. As mentioned previously, professional learning is an important part of our school action plan. We are working to build a culture of learning for our staff and promoting a growth mindset across the board. We're encouraging our teachers to teach up, challenging themselves to raise expectations and improve their craft. We are striving to provide meaningful professional learning for all our staff in critical areas such as special education, literacy, and classroom management. This collaborative effort ensures that our learning will be systematic and impactful. Our administrative team is committed to continuous improvement through our regular instructional walks. Each week we are calibrating and refining our systems and structures to ensure that we're getting to 100% of classrooms. We provide instructional feedback aligned to the cycle and our fidelity markers and to lesson plans. And we know that that is the key to identifying both our systemic and individual professional learning needs. So at Beech Grove Elementary, our theme this year is Together We Win. We believe in the power of collaboration, and it's not just a slogan, it's the heart of our school culture. We understand that in order to build a strong learning community, we must all work together, staff, students, parents, and a broader community. We're committed to ensuring that the positive progress we've made continues, and while we are not where we want to be yet, we are seeing growth and we are making strides each day to ensure that our students are receiving a high quality instruction. In closing, we're going to remain focused on our instructional priorities and continue to refine our systems and structures to ensure that every student at Beech Grove Elementary has the opportunity to thrive. Through our commitment to providing high-quality instruction, supporting our teachers, and fostering a culture of growth, we're confident that we will continue to see improvements in student achievement. Thank you again. I look forward to updating you guys next year.
Well, good afternoon. It's an honor to join you all today as the principal of Pioneer Elementary. I'd first like to start by thanking the board for all of your support of Pioneer and the Kenton County School District. Dr. Webb, Ms. Harney, and Ms. Wortman, thank you for your continued support of our school and our district. I'd like to go ahead and start by starting with just a couple of our successes this past school year. On the 2024 Kentucky Summative Assessment, Pioneer maintained our high green status. This overall for our students, and in reading and math we also maintained that high green status, and we maintained high green in our separate academic indicators as well for science, social studies, and writing. On the math assessment, Pioneer scored 76 out of 684 schools on KSA Math, which put us in the top 11% statewide. And additionally, we improved or we maintained our status on all of our CSIP goals last year. And more importantly, 100% of our students feel safe and cared about. And 98% agree that staff works hard to make sure that they're safe. So we know that fostering a safe and secure learning environment is a foundation for academic success. Student engagement is another point of pride for us at Pioneer Elementary. We have 100% of our students participating in an extracurricular or co-curricular activity, giving them opportunities to explore their interests and to build connections with our staff members and parent and community volunteers who help participate in our club days at Pioneer. We have many reasons to celebrate, but we also have some areas for growth as well. So although our reading and math proficiency grew to 60 and 64%, we did fall short of our CSIP goals, which were 62% for reading and 67% for math. Our writing proficiency last school year also dropped from 52% proficient and distinguished to 48% proficient and distinguished, and social studies had a decline as well from 43% to 37%. We are also focused on improving proficiency for our students with disabilities. Even though we increased reading proficiency for students with disabilities from 21 to 23%, and in math we increased from 21 to 27%, these remain significantly below the performance of all students, and it is also below our CSIP goals for the year as well. So again, that's another area where we would like to grow. So we've created an action plan for this school year, and our two main goals on our action plan are to increase proficiency in reading and math for all students, and to have an emphasis on closing gaps for our students with disabilities. We are going to address those two goals by having an action plan and action steps that we're going to tackle this school year. Our first action step involves intentional learning walks. Our admin team conducts monthly learning walks to provide targeted feedback grounded in the cycle of quality instruction. And during these walks, we also review lesson plans, we review curriculum maps, we review our fidelity markers, our P through 12 reading strategies, technology use in the classroom, and we ensure that there are regular checks for learning within each lesson. We also ensure that the effective co-teaching strategies are being implemented in the classroom, and specially designed instruction is implemented in both the collaborative setting and in the resource setting. So using data from these walks, we are able to identify our school-wide trends, and we're able to identify teacher strengths, and we're able to use that to plan differentiated professional development. During the 2023-24 school year, we increased our learning walks in our literacy ELA classrooms. And we are proud to report that from our walks last year and our walks this year, we are able to maintain 100% fidelity in implementing our new high-quality instructional literacy resource. Additionally, this school year in our special education walks in the resource setting, we have reinforced effective instructional practices on 100% of those walks. We also engage in data-driven instruction in PLCs. Pioneer teachers follow the district assessment protocol, leveraging tools like Schoology and Performance Matters to administer those KSA-like tests and to track student progress. The alignment between KSA, like we've heard from other colleagues, the alignment between KSA, MAP, and our common assessments remains strong at Pioneer. We are within 5 to 6 percentage points compared to actual proficiency on KSA. So weekly PLCs, informative assessment data, is used to identify students who are trending below proficiency, plan remediation for our students, and spiral reviews for those standards that are not mastered. And then in those meetings, we also celebrate student successes. In our special education PLCs, teachers analyze IEP progress and compare that to progress on common formative assessments and district common assessments, focusing on closing achievement gaps and ensuring transition readiness. Our name and claim dashboard is used regularly to track data trends and to design individualized plans for our students. Additionally, some of the work that our teachers have been involved in this year is the development and the refinement of the school level assessment calendar. So we use that assessment calendar to plan for regular checks for learning, and those regular checks are strategically planned to monitor student progress towards the mastery of their grade level standards. This year, our teachers have also engaged in professional learning around the unit and lesson internalization to develop that deep understanding of the content, objectives, instructional moves, and this work enables them to deliver material in ways that engages their students. When lessons are internalized and our teachers have internalized the lesson, they're better prepared to adapt in their instruction and make instructional adjustments in real time and more effectively respond to student misconceptions and needs. This focus also strengthens instruction and increases student achievement. And we've also enhanced our MTSS processes by integrating that Performance Matters and our MTSS dashboards to monitor intervention effectiveness. We use these tools to track growth across the interventions and adjust instructional strategies to better meet our students' needs. Our core MTSS team meets regularly to review student progress in our interventions and also to review the MTSS rubric, which is kind of our roadmap for our work. Our professional development remains a cornerstone for our success at Pioneer. Staff collaborate in those weekly PLCs to align instruction to the rigor and the level of the standards. We have vertical alignment professional learning opportunities where our grade level leads and our literacy and numeracy leads help lead that work. Our district and school level professional developments also help us to refine our teaching practices and enhance our student engagement. Transition readiness across all grade levels is something that we also implement. We have started with conferences at the 5th grade level and have now moved that down to the 4th grade level. And we have clear markers for transition readiness K through 5. And we share that information with families through conferences, informational nights, report cards. And we've also do that through our student-led conferences as well, where students are sharing their progress. At Pioneer, we prioritize celebrating our students on our celebrating their successes with their MAP growth goals, proficiency badges, trimester award ceremonies, and we recognize their achievements in academics, behavior, and attendance. Pioneer has much to be proud of, but we remain committed to our continuous improvement. With our dedicated staff and our supportive community and our focused action plan, we're confident in our ability to ensure every student achieves success.
First, again, I would like to say thank you to the Board of Education, Dr. Webb, Ms. Harney, and Ms. Wortman for your continued support. This is my 15th year at Kenton Elementary and my 6th year as principal. So I'm very proud to represent Kenton Elementary today and share all of the wonderful learning that takes place. So I'm going to share some of our successes, our areas of growth, and all of the instructional strategies that are currently being utilized at Kenton that we feel always make a big impact for our students. First, I would like to share some of our successes. On the 23-24 KSA, Kenton is at the green rating, and we scored over state and district averages for all students in all tested areas. On 5th grade writing, Kenton Elementary scored in the top 5% for all students and for students that are on free and reduced lunch. And also in the area of math, Kenton scored in the top 10% for all students in the state and also for our students that qualify for a free and reduced lunch. So we are very proud of our students and our teachers for these accomplishments in these areas. Our focus this year is to see growth in all of our students and to continue to close the learning gap for our students with disabilities. According to the state data, 62% of all students perform proficient or distinguished on the reading portion of KSA and 66% in math, which meant we did not reach our proficiency goals in each of these areas. Also, 16% of our students with disabilities scored proficient and distinguished in reading and 19th in math. So this year we are truly naming and claiming students to help all of them grow. There are several strategies that we'll be utilizing to achieve this goal. First, we hold weekly PLC meetings where teachers analyze data on common formative assessments and common assessments and discuss individual students that did not reach proficiency to help create remediation plans. Also, after each of our universal screeners, such as MAP or MAP Fluency, teachers triangulate this data with classroom assessments to determine the level of support for individual students. Second, we believe we have a very strong MTSS structure at Kenton that helps determine the correct intervention for students that may need a Tier 2 or Tier 3 intervention. Our core MTSS team meets regularly to review student data. They also facilitate our progress check meetings throughout the year. Over the last 2 years, classroom teachers started attending these progress check meetings, and they provide input on the students where they are performing in class to help determine the correct intervention. This has been a wonderful addition to these meetings so that we ensure that we are looking at the whole child when making decisions. After each progress check meeting, the MTSS team then determines the health of the interventions by the percentage of students that are making good progress. In addition to this year we restructured how our Tier 1 RTI time looks. We are being more intentional to make sure that we are honing in with meeting with individual students and small groups of students so they can receive the instruction according to their skill deficit. We also love to celebrate the successes of our students throughout the school year. Teachers will set goals with students on their weekly assessments and celebrate with those students that reach those goals. And we also have our trimester award ceremonies to celebrate student success and growth on both academic and behavioral goals. Also, we do believe that it is important that the teachers receive professional development throughout the year so that they can implement rigorous and engaging lessons. This happens in several ways. The administration conducts instructional walks each month in every classroom to provide feedback to all teachers on the cycle of quality instruction. Our focus this year continues to be on the individual products and for adjustment of instruction to ensure we are holding all students to high expectations. This data is discussed with teachers and used to plan monthly staff meetings with differentiated sessions based on the needs of grade level teams. Our teachers will continue to work with district staff on implementation of our high quality instructional resource, CKLA, and we have also purchased a social studies HQIR this year as well to help with that instruction. And professional development for implementation for both of these resources will also take place on the school level. Finally, our teams this year have 2 full-day planning days where they can meet with their teachers to plan upcoming lessons, and also with an addition to that, they are going into different classrooms so they can observe to find strategies that they can use in their classrooms that are aligned to the growth plans that they developed for themselves at the beginning of the school year. We just had our first round of these, and we have very positive feedback from the teachers, just that time that they had that they could plan together. Along with the academic support for students, we feel that students need to feel connected and safe at school. Our FRC works with families and individual students to help reduce barriers to students that may have for learning. One of the main focuses for her is attendance. Each week, the RBTL team meets to discuss individual student attendance. This year, we have implemented attendance check-in groups with our FRC and school counselors. This is a short meeting with students to discuss their needs around attendance and any support that we can provide. Students in grades 3 through 5 also have the option to complete a Google Sheet to share how they are feeling for that day if they don't feel comfortable talking with a person. We just felt that was another way for them to be able to express themselves. The RBTL team also gives out monthly grade level and class awards for the highest attendance rate. The FRC also works with our SBDM committees on how to involve parents in their child's learning with programs such as All Pro Dads, Muffins with Moms, our Family Math Night, and our Family Literacy Night, which was a great success this year. We are also very excited that we are starting our club days this school year. Mrs. Yates, our assistant principal, has worked very hard to make sure that students are able to participate in a club of their choice. This will not only help our students feel connected to school, but is also aligned to the transition ready criteria. We are very proud of our social emotional behavior initiatives we have at Kenton. 98% of our students state that they feel safe at school, and safety is always our #1 priority. One area that we continue to work on is the students respect their differences of each other in the classroom. At times students have more than one adult advocate if we feel like they need extra support. Our teachers do zones of regulation Tier 1 SEB lessons each week, but we also have students that participate in Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions if they have a further skill deficit that needs to be addressed. In order to focus on students with disabilities, administration will continue to conduct targeted instructional walks that take place in the collaboration classroom and resource classroom. Our feedback continues to be focused on specially designed instruction and co-teaching strategies. These strategies are also modeled for our general education teachers in PLC meetings and staff meetings so that we can further enhance our Tier 1 instruction for our students with disabilities. We also meet with our special ed teachers monthly to discuss student progress on their IEP goals and on proficiency on grade level. And finally, for special education teachers, we do have collaboration time that we are paying for before or after school if they want to meet with their collaboration teams, along with their shared planning time. So as you can see, the staff at Kenton is working very hard each day to provide a world-class education for our students. I hope you will visit our school so that we can show you all the hard work that is taking place at Kenton. Thank you again for your continued support.
Good afternoon. I also would like to say thank you to the Board of Education, Dr. Webb, Mrs. Harney, and Mrs. Wortman for all your support for the students of Whites Tower and all Kenton County students. Though this is my first year as principal of Whites Tower, this is my 8th year, and I am excited to report on the growing systems and structures that we have put in place here to ensure that all students are receiving a world-class education. I am proud to represent Whites Tower. Every day, we have wonderful things happening in our building. Today, I want to share with you some of our successes, areas of growth, and instructional strategies that we believe will make an impact on student learning. I'd like to begin with our successes from last school year. Whites Tower Elementary was green for a second consecutive year on KSA. Our 5th grade math and 3rd grade math were points of pride, with 68.52% of 5th graders and 62.4% of 3rd graders scoring proficient or distinguished. We had a higher proficiency rate than the state average for all students in reading, math, science, social studies, and combined writing. We also saw an increase of 8% in combined writing from our 22-23 scores for our students with disabilities. And 99% of our students agree that adults from their school work hard to make sure that students are safe. While we have great things going on at Whites Tower, we also have gaps to close. Our focus this year is to see growth in the following areas. First, we want to see growth in reading and literacy. Last year, we saw a dip in our reading scores. KSA data showed that 54% of all students performed proficient and distinguished on the reading portion of the test. While we did not meet our proficiency goal, we will continue to keep reading proficiency at the forefront of our intentional planning. Math, while we did increase 1% proficiency on KSA to 62%, math continues to be an area of growth. Without having a high quality instructional resource in math, we are only using standards and curriculum maps to plan instruction. We are missing the high quality materials that offer concrete research-based strategies that lead to better student outcomes. We also want to increase proficiency with our students with disabilities. In all content areas, our students with disabilities are performing at lower proficiency levels than other students. Our KSA data showed that 18% of students with disabilities scored proficient or distinguished in reading, and 20% of students with disabilities scored proficient or distinguished in math. While reading and math are our two target areas, we also need to increase proficiency for students with disabilities in science, social studies, and writing. We want to continue MAP growth. On our fall MAP growth assessment, school-wide, we had a median percentile of 65% in math and 67% in reading. When we were analyzing our data, our students with disabilities scored lower. They had a median percentile of 41% in math and a 44% in reading. We want to increase these scores. And we also want to increase our transition readiness. We want all of our students at White's Tower to be transition ready for the next level when they leave to go to middle school. Last year, 57.66% of fourth graders and 58.93% of fifth graders were transition ready. We want to put a plan in place to raise that number. And finally, student celebrations. Our students have been working hard, but we feel that they weren't being recognized for their achievement enough. We've created a plan to ensure that all students receive the recognition that they deserve. For each of these areas where we want to grow, we've developed strategies to help us attain growth. First, naming and claiming of every student. Every week in PLC, students are discussed. We look at the data on common formative assessments and common assessments and discuss individual students that did not meet proficiency and create remediation plans for these students. We look at attendance and SEB needs and put plans in place to meet these areas. And after each universal screener, we triangulate data to determine if students are receiving the correct support for growth. We have the implementation of our ELA high quality instructional resource. Being in year 2 implementation with Amplify CKLA, teachers have made the shift to instructing students around the science of reading. They're using this high quality instructional resource to ensure alignment to Kentucky academic standards, as well as the fidelity of the program, while they receive ongoing professional development and fidelity walks that have meaningful feedback to ensure equity for all students in their reading Tier 1 instruction. We are currently reviewing a high quality instructional resource for math. They've been spending their time reviewing 2 high-quality instructional resources for adoption next school year in math, and in this review, the teachers have been using sample lessons in real time to help make decisions about which program will best meet student needs. We also are reviewing the effectiveness of intervention programs used. After each MTSS progress check, intervention programs are looked at and the data is analyzed and compared to trend data to see if students are making progress in each specific intervention. Based off these results, we make instructional decisions on what intervention programs to continue using. We have monthly learning walks where all teachers in all content areas are walked monthly and are provided specific feedback around the cycle of quality instruction. At the end of each month, achievement data and walk data are analyzed and shared with staff. Based off this analysis, job-embedded PD is determined for monthly PLCs or at faculty meetings. We've created a thorough assessment plan. In addition to giving the district common assessments, White's Tower has collaborated with teachers to put in place common formative assessments in each content area, as well as school-wide on-demand writing scrimmages to track student progress towards the mastery of the standards and determine remediation needs. The data is a routine part of our naming and claiming of students. We have a regular review of our special education data. Along with our special education teachers, we look at IEP progress data, compliance data, the effectiveness of resources, as well as ensuring that all student schedules and minutes are up to date. We have weekly PLCs with our special education team where we look at data and provide job-embedded professional development to the team that meets their specific needs. We have protected intentional planning time. Time's protected in our schedule for teachers to have common planning within each grade level. Special education teachers have common planning grade level with the grade level they service most, and an additional day once a month to meet with other grade levels as needed. We've transition readiness markers for each grade level. We have made a transition readiness a K-5 discussion at White's Tower. Our student conferences have moved from only 5th grade to 4th and 5th grade. Grade levels have collaborated on transition readiness markers for their grade level, and communication has been shared consistently with families about transition readiness at conferences, family nights, and in our monthly newsletter. We also have Tower Time clubs to ensure participation in activities outside of the classroom for every student. And we have our student celebrations. We have really focused this year on celebrating the success of each of our students, from setting goals for MAP, random proficiency rewards for assessment scores, certificates presented at trimester award ceremonies, and monthly assemblies celebrating students following the Bearcat Bees. Students are being recognized for their hard work. In closing, you just heard a lot of wonderful things that are happening here at White's Tower, but we also have a focused plan to make it even better. We have a world-class staff that has remained consistent and will continue to strengthen our instruction and keep our instructional priorities at the forefront of our learning every day. I invite each of you to visit anytime to see the hard work at White's Tower, and again, I thank you for your continued support.
Good afternoon, and thank you to Dr. Webb and Ms. Harney and Ms. Wortman and the Board of Education for your continued support of Kaywood Elementary. It is my honor to continue to serve as the principal. This is my 7th year as principal, my 13th year at Kaywood, and my 18th year as an administrator. And I do want to stop and say that this is probably the highest caliber of principals I have ever worked with in my career, and I am very proud to be a part of this group. I am confident that our school's learning culture is growing stronger each day as we have strong systems and structures in place. We are focused on staying the course and maintaining momentum while growing the teachers that we have, most important thing, and hiring the very best teachers and staff to ensure that every child at Kaywood receives a world-class education. While we are not at all satisfied with our overall yellow performance rating this year, we still have a lot to celebrate. On our spring KSA, our overall indicator score for reading and math was 72.4, which was in the green high-performing category and above the state indicator. Kaywood is above the state average in both reading and math, and this spring, on the KSA, 48% of our students scored proficient or distinguished in science, which we are proud to say was an increase of 15% from 2023 and well above the state average. We have seen tremendous growth in our students with disabilities. We have now stayed out of TSI for the 2nd year in a row, and we have seen growth across many content areas with our students with disabilities. 23% of students with disabilities scored proficient or distinguished in math, which was an increase of 14% from 2023. 33% of students with disabilities scored proficient or distinguished in science, which was an increase of 26% from 2023. Our access scores indicate that 83% of our English language learners made growth, which is a 6% increase from last year, and 19% were able to exit. While our overall scores for reading on KSA were down by 3%, we continue to see strong indicators from our MAP screener, which indicates that the growth comparison from fall of 23 to the spring of 24 was a 55, which is considered high growth and high achievement. And here's my most exciting piece of data. Our fall MAP diagnostic data, which is new this year, shows that the hard work we are doing with the implementation of our high-quality resource, CKLA, is paying off for our primary students. 88% of our first graders met expectation for phonological awareness, and 94% of our first graders met expectations for phonics. This is the first time ever. In addition, our fall MAP growth data indicates that 69% of our current 3rd graders are projected to be proficient or distinguished on KSA this coming spring. That's exciting news. And as always, our priority every day at Kaywood is student safety, and 98% of our students believe that the adults from our school care about them and work hard to keep them safe. We have a lot of areas to grow, as always, but literacy continues to be our #1 priority and the biggest area of focus in our school's action plan with the 2nd year of our implementation of CKLA. Math continues to be an overall area of growth for all students, with 54% of Kaywood students scoring proficient or distinguished on our spring KSA. While that is an increase of 4%, we are still 10th in the district in this area of math. In our separate academic indicators, we saw a decline in the area of social studies with a decrease of 9% from 2023, and in our combined writing, we saw a decrease of 12%. This is the piece that caused us to drop to our yellow indicator. While we are very excited about our growth with students with disabilities, we will continue to maintain a strong focus on this achievement gap, and we will continue to implement the strategies that have been proven effective over the past 2 years. We will mimic those strategies as well with our English language learner population. So what are we doing to do all of this? We are going to stay the course and maintain our momentum. Momentum is really my word of the year. We're going to continue implementation of CKLA. We're going to continue the strong professional learning that we have for all of our teachers. This includes ongoing district professional development and collaboration, as well as peer observations and intentional fidelity walks to provide meaningful feedback for teachers to ensure equity in all of our classrooms for Tier 1 instruction and reading. We are also providing professional learning around the P-12 reading strategies. This is all being led by our teacher leadership team. We are most excited, our biggest rock is implementation of the new lesson plan structure and utilizing the unit and lesson internalization tools to support structures for teachers to collaboratively plan and prepare instruction, especially in reading. We believe strong planning equals strong instruction equals strong learner outcomes. I say it every day. The implementation of our new CFA calendar in our school's assessment analysis tool to analyze formative and common assessment data in our weekly PLCs to make adjustments for students. We name and claim every week, and we plan around the standards in real time so that we can design needs-based instruction to address all of our students. We're always triangulating all the data. We continue to refine our MTSS structure by monitoring that program effectiveness using data from Performance Matters in order to streamline the intervention programs that we use for specific skill deficits. We have also implemented a new social studies HQIR this year and have provided ongoing professional development with that. We continue our intentional instructional walks with special education in the resource setting as well as the collaborative setting. We are continuing our professional learning on the shift from punitive to restorative practices, as well as de-escalation training and trauma-informed care best practices. This year, we implemented the Leader in Me practices by Stephen Covey to focus on increasing student agency and leadership following the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Students. We celebrate Comet Leaders of the Month. They are recognized each month based on their leadership contributions to their classroom and to our school. We're very focused on our transition ready, our vision and communication. We only had 53.49% of 4th and 5th grade students that met the criteria last year, and so we have several strategies in place. We have student conferences 4 times per year with their adult advocates. We have a very explicit school-wide attendance plan, and something we designed last week is called a tardy party. And you get to earn a party if you don't have any tardies before Christmas. Transition Ready Tuesdays, teachers in 4th and 5th grade post transition ready messages on social media to remind parents of the transition ready criteria. And one of our biggest things we've done this year is we have monthly family engagement nights that are directly tied to the unit that we are doing in Amplify. Students prepare projects and present them to their families. And this past week, we had our 2nd grade family night. We had 79 out of 86 of our students attend, standing room only. So I also want to celebrate our visit with KDE in March of 2024, which showcased the incredible growth that our teachers have made in the shift from balanced literacy to the science of reading. Our staff has embraced that new learning, and we remain passionate about our goal of ensuring every student is reading on grade level at each transition point. While we are not where we want to be yet, we continue to grow and equip our teachers by providing intentional Tier 1 instruction for them through faculty meetings, our weekly memo, and our PLCs. We feel strongly that our current systems and structures in place have increased the level of conversations around student data and instruction, and that with continued daily and weekly focus on our instructional priorities, we will see student achievement rise. Nothing in our school happens by accident. Thank you very much for your time.